Hi, y'all. This is Kristen Chenoweth.
Hi, I'm Gloria Stefan.
This is Sarah Bareilles.
Hi, I'm Patty Lapone.
This is Lin-Manuel Miranda. You're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
Everyone, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays. Welcome to the final episode of the Theater Podcast. I am Alan Seals, your host as always, and this is episode 301 with what's becoming a holiday tradition, I guess, for me, special guest Diana Salameh. How you doing, Diana?
I'm good. I'm so happy to be here with you. I like this little tradition that has come together.
I know. I like recapping the year with you, and because you're heavily involved in the industry, and you see a lot of shows, and I see a lot of shows, and I think we have complementary differentiation in opinions sometimes. Mm-hmm. There's some things we both really like, some things we don't, and then we'll have some heated arguments. We'll have some spirited discussions.
I do agree, but what a disappointment for your listeners to go from like Stephanie J. Block last week to me, an unknown entity whose mom follows her on Instagram.
Well, hi, Diana's mom. What's your mom's name?
Kafa.
Kafa? Oh, hi, Kafa. Yeah. Nice to hear from you, Kafa. Post us on your stories. We'll share it. That was actually one of the highlights of my year, being truthful, of just reaching episode 300, because that's been one a week at least for over 5 years now.
Wow.
And didn't think I'd get this far. So thanks for being with me. You and Eric Piepenberg were two of my very first interviews in year one.
Yeah. It was pre-pandemic. I remember that much.
Yeah, because I came to you.
World.
Yeah, I came to your office and I was like, "Hey guys," and you're like, "What's up?" And we didn't really know each other then, and then here we are, like years later, seeing shows and recapping the year. So
I love it.
What was? Oh, I want to say too, at the end of 2022, this is 23. I had to do the math. Remember we were talking about Into the Woods, and you were like,
mm-hmm.
I had said I'd never seen it, and you promised me you'd take me. And the very first show that I saw in 2023 is Into the Woods.
That's true. I can't believe that was this year.
It was, the first week of January 2023 with none other than episode 300 guest, Stephanie J.
Block. Yes,
yeah.
It was the best. It was the tail end of that revival of Into the Woods, which was so amazing. I saw it so many times. I was so happy to see it with you and share it with you. And it's so rare that you're at a show like that with a theater person who's never seen it and doesn't know how it's going to unfold. So it was such a joy to like see you gasp at moments that I knew were coming. And I loved it. I would see that production 100 more times if I could.
It was so good. And I don't know if you listened to the episode last week with Stephanie, but she was like, Gavin Creel, as she puts it, that great dum-dum convinced them all to go on. And they didn't call it a tour. It was oh shoot, I forget what it was. Promotion in major market cities, I think is what they officially called it, something like that. And I was like, okay. But that was really great.
It was a mini tour. I'm using unofficial language. A lawyer cannot hold me to this, but it was like a mini tour in big cities, which was great to keep that going. And Stephanie traveled with her husband, Sebastian,
mm-hmm.
and their child. And I thought that was a really cool Broadway backstage story.
Was there anything you saw this year that that was like kind of a staple of Broadway that you just saw for the first time? Because I saw Chicago this year for the first time on Broadway. I've seen it on tour like 20 years ago, but I'd never seen it on Broadway until this past year.
How was that? Did you enjoy that experience?
I did. I went to see Lily Thomas, first Asian American to play Mama Morton. And so because I interviewed her this year, and it was so good. I can see why it's just like one of these timeless shows that, it's pulling apart relationships and murder and crime and comedy and things that just, I want to keep going. And I think that it's following into the Into the Woods strategy of just kind of rotating through, in a good way, some really good cast members that otherwise maybe wouldn't make it to Broadway or wouldn't have interest in doing your traditional kind of show. But I think it's great.
Yeah. I saw 2 shows this year that are staples of the musical theater canon that I had never seen, never listened to the cast recording of, barely knew the plot. And it was, this is sacrilegious, Sweeney Todd and Merrily We Roll Along. I had never seen or listened to either of them. You too?
Samesies on both.
Wait, for both? Oh my gosh.
Both.
Oh, we have this in common. That's so crazy. Why for you? I'm curious.
Okay, so when I was younger, before I moved to New York, I was listening to cast albums that were more poppy, and like because Rent is what got me into theater. And so I would listen to Rent, and I'd listen to Wicked, and things along that nature, or things that were like my parents' generation, because my mom would listen to stuff, West Side Story, Music Man, Singing in the Rain. And then I was in college, or after college or whatnot. I just went through this period where I just didn't pay attention to musical theater for a hot minute. And then when I came back, I only started seeing things that were actively opening. Oh. Because with the podcast world and the press world and all that, so like I would go to things right after they would open, and it was just kind of like a time thing that I wouldn't have the opportunity to go back and see a bunch of old stuff again. Yeah. And it's interesting how the business side of that of show business kind of dictates what I've been seeing, and totally. I assume it's kind of similar for you too, being in the business.
Yeah, I mean, for me with Sweeney, I am a person that just doesn't like any kind of horror or gore. It's just not for me. It's just like anything too bloody, anything too scary, too many knives and daggers, I'm out. And so that for me was always Sweeney Todd. I was like a little scared to like watch or listen to Sweeney Todd. And then I was like, nope, just go see Sweeney Todd. This is going to be an amazing way to experience Sweeney Todd for the first time. It eventually got to a point with me with both Sweeney and Merrily that it was like, I'm just going to wait. Like at this point, I'm proving a point. I'm not going to see it until I can really see it. And that's what happened with these two productions. And they were phenomenal. I mean, those were big, lush, gorgeous productions in different ways that I loved. I loved both of them, especially Merrily. What a heartbreaking, beautiful, poignant story that, as two people on this podcast who are not 18 anymore, I think we can both say that we...
Speak for yourself.
Yeah. I think we can both say that we've had friendships in our lives that have drifted. And the way that Merrily was able to tell that story and come back to that beautiful moment of joy when they first meet, I thought was great and moving, and that cast was amazing.
What's really tragic about that too is that you see the very end. You see when they're all they don't like each other. They don't hang anymore. They don't want to be with each other. And I, not knowing anything about it, I thought that it would circle back around to where we started and then move forward again right at the end, so we could be like, oh look, we're reconciling. Now we're friends again. Let's just like we were when we started. And spoiler alert, nope.
But it doesn't mean it doesn't happen. I feel like what's so great about the ending of Merrily, and we've obviously spoiled it for everybody listening to this podcast, but it's a risk you take listening to the theater podcast, is it's up for interpretation for you, for what you think could possibly happen, because we don't know the future. We only know the past. And there's that hope that you can hold on to, both for those characters and also for the friendships in your life.
Well put. Very well put.
There's no hope at the end of Sweeney. They all die there. That's done.
No. I'm just happy that in my life I can say I saw Annalee Ashford in that role. That she was incredible. Absolutely
really wonderful. Yeah.
Let's see what else has been going on. I think one of my favorites this year, that was the last thing I just saw this year, was How to Dance in Ohio.
Oh, that was the last show that I saw this year too.
Is it not the best show? It's so inclusive, so amazing, so different. It's what we need. It's just such a different idea, and I love it.
Yeah, and I also think it's so important culturally to be able to tell stories like that, to have that kind of diversity on stage, to have a great awareness, because this will do big things for Broadway and for theater kids and for people who are autistic for many, many years to come.
And Sammy Cannell, director, her Broadway directorial debut, she's just one of the nicest people I've ever met in IRL as well.
Sammy Cannell can do anything. She is the future of this industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's see what I'm going down my list here. Let's see. One of my favorites as well was I went down to DC to see The Wiz. It's not technically Broadway, but it's gonna be.
I am so jealous. I'm looking forward to it for next year. Tell me more.
Oh man, that's another one of these classics, like these albums, these classics that I just didn't know about. I didn't listen to it, and then I saw it, and I was, same with Merrily. Like you're going through the show, and all of a sudden the song starts up, and you're like, oh, this is what that's from, and it was fun, it was entertaining. It like, I haven't decided yet, side note, if I enjoy the casting from TikTok, from social media, whatnot, because Dorothy, the girl playing Dorothy, got found on social media. And I think that's a wonderful opportunity. And I mean, I guess, okay, I'll decide here. I like it because it's allowing more people to be discovered where otherwise they might not be able to, if not being able to travel to New York to audition or know the business like that. So I think it's good.
It's true.
What do you think about that?
I think it's great. I think it's great. Yeah. I think it just adds a level of accessibility for people, just like you said, who can't get to New York and don't know how to. And it allows them to do it in the comfort of their own home or wherever it may be. I think it's awesome. I think it's great.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm going to my list. Mad Women of the West. That was such a fun off-Broadway show with Mary Lou Hanner and Caroline Aaron. Did you get to see that one?
I did not get to see that, but I just want to say, if I could go to a show where Mary Lou Henner just like does her thing, where she can like name dates, I would pay cash money for that. Big bucks to go in and be like, Mary Lou, what day of the week were Oreos invented? And she'd be like, Tuesday, girl. It was on a Tuesday. She'd know.
Yeah. She has a literal photographic memory for those.
It's wild.
Who don't know.
Wild.
Yeah, it's cool.
She's a true mad woman of the West.
Yeah. Well, the four roles were written for those four women. Just
I love that.
Hands down, nobody else could play them. They are perfect. Let's see, Gardens of Annuncia with Eden Espinosa and Mary Testa and the whole cast. God, like that's another one that spoke to me on a more personal level. It made me appreciate the time I have left with my parents. Yeah. Did you get to see that one at all?
I didn't, but I'm really excited for Eden to come back to Broadway in the spring in Lempicka, which I have heard only the most incredible things about for many, many years. So I'm excited to see that unfold. I think everything that they've put out into the world about it just looks gorgeous and artful and beautiful. And it feels like the kind of night at the theater where you can really escape and go somewhere else into a beautiful story. So I'm looking forward to that this spring.
What's something that you saw that deals with very, very serious subject matter in a very comedic way to make you go, I enjoyed that. And I took it in and didn't realize I just learned something.
Interesting. You know, I thought Just for Us was one of the most brilliant things I saw on Broadway this year. Did you see it?
Alex Edelman show. Yeah. That's why I asked you this question.
Is it because of Alex Edelman? You led me there?
Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
Good. That's good. We're sharing a brain on that. That was great. He is a brilliant storyteller, just comedic. I think I've used the word brilliant too many times in this podcast so far.
That's brilliant.
I'm going to reserve it. But for everyone I've referred to as brilliant so far, no, it's true. But I've said it too much. I'll come up with more specific words to describe them. But Alex's way of using humor to connect with people and to tell stories, and whether it's with connecting with his family and connecting with people as he was going through those moments or with the audience, which he did in such a big way, I loved. I will say this much, and we're really lucky, both Alan and I, to get to work in this industry and get to go to a lot of shows for free. We're very, very lucky to do that, doing what we do. But I paid full price to see Alex Edelman, and it was worth every penny. I felt like an old woman from New Jersey slapping my knee and being like, that was worth every dollar. Like, it was so good. It was so good. Without spoiling too much, it's going to be on HBO soon. They filmed that production, and so everyone will get to see it. I can't wait to go back and listen to those jokes again and listen to the way that he took a white nationalist's Nazi cocktail party and turned it into such a funny but poignant lesson for the audience.
And the attendees of that meeting, this is all a true story.
Yeah.
That's what blows my mind about it.
I want to know if any of those attendees know and if they've contacted Alex. Alex, if you're listening to this, I'm at _Diana Salameh. Please send me a note and let me know if anyone has reached out to you. I really want to know.
Okay. I'll make sure he gets that message.
Yeah. Do you know Alex? Can you ask him? I really want to know. Make sure he listens to
I
this
indirectly
podcast.
know him. Yes, I actually can get him a message.
Great.
I'll see if he can answer that for us. Let's see. Speaking of kind of like the personal stories, I guess early in the year, yeah, Into the Woods. The next thing after that, I saw Colin Quinn's Small Talk, so his off-Broadway show, and then followed by Without You, which was Anthony Rapp's one-man show about his ascension into Rent and that part of his life. And I like hearing stories like that when they are written and performed based on the person's actual events, actual life, and they are retelling it because it brings an authenticity in a way that I don't know if you can get really otherwise.
I agree with that. Gavin Creel, I don't know if it's still playing, but Gavin Creel's show at MCC sort of is similar. And at that personal experience, whether you're drawing it in the stories or just in the experience that you're bringing to what you're doing on stage, it makes such a difference for the audience in the way we connect with it.
Yeah. It's amazing. And along those lines too, I don't know if you could kind of group this together. Goodnight, Oscar.
We saw that together. That was one of the shows we saw together this year.
I know. And Sean Hayes, this was a passion project of Sean's.
Yeah.
Forever to bring this to Broadway, and because he was obsessed with Oscar Levant and the real life story, and so while not actually being Oscar, he is Sean. Like this was like this little show this little story that just brought him a Tony.
Right.
I mean, it got him to ultimately to across the finish line.
Yeah, he was totally transformed on stage. Like if I didn't know it was Sean Hayes, I wouldn't have known it was Sean Hayes.
No.
That piano playing at the end, that was one of the best things I had ever seen Sean Hayes do. And that's saying a lot. He's an incredibly talented performer on stage, on screen. I loved Goodnight, Oscar. That was a great one.
Absolutely. I enjoyed that. I enjoy all right, let's go down. Stay in this category. Ozzy Wind. Did you get to see Ozzy off Broadway?
No.
He was telling his own story about connections and family and names and weaved that all into this amazing Illusion off-Broadway show of Illusion that's, as we're recording this, still going. It got extended a bajillion times, and I think it's ultimately going to close here mid-January. But if you can go see it before it closes, like, I recommend it. It blew me away.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great to hear.
Hang on, everybody. We're just going to take a quick break. All right, now we're back.
Did you have something that surprised you? Something that you went into with either no expectations or low expectations, and it became a favorite of the year?
Back to the Future. I saw it twice.
Twice?
I saw it twice. And I know this is possibly an unpopular opinion, but I love the show. I think it's
also loved Back to the Future. Why are we agreeing on so many things this year?
because we share a brain.
No. Mine's bigger. JK.
That is true. No,
You know,
you are 100% accurate.
Back to the Future was great. I had no expectations of Back to the Future. I'd never seen the movie. It goes on the list of things that I just didn't see. And I had the best time at the show. I would go back again. I have twin nephews that are 8 years old that I think would love it. I took them to their first Broadway show this year. They saw Wicked. It was a magical experience. I loved it. And I think Back to the Future should be their second Broadway show. And I would go back to take them.
I've taken my kids now to two shows, Six and Juliet.
Those are good ones. How old are your boys?
7 and 9.
Good ages for those shows.
Yeah. So six was nice because it's real short. It's great. They already knew the music, and Juliet, we had just started to learn the music. But they just it's funny. It's funny. The kids now they're like we hear the Anne Juliet music and then they'll hear the Backstreet Boys original version or something and hey, that came from Anne Juliet, right? I'm like,
that's so funny.
No, let me tell you something.
Sort of.
Kind of.
Speaking of Anne Juliet, did you see Once Upon a One More Time?
I did.
I love that Britney music. What did you think of Once Upon a One More Time?
I think it got the raw end of the overpopulation of feminist princess musicals.
Is it possible to have an overpopulation of feminist princess musicals?
In theory, no, but I think the audience got burnt out. I didn't think it found its audience because right after Bad Cinderella came out and closed, Once Upon a One More Time opened, and it was another Cinderella story. And I think it was the worst timing. I don't understand why. I mean, I sort of do, but I don't understand why the producers opened Once Upon One More Time so close to Bad Cindy, assuming that Bad Cindy wasn't even going to close in the first place. So you'd have two Cinderella musicals at the same time, in the same season.
I think it would be nice to think that there's like a Broadway curator out there that could come in and say, you should be this season and you should be next season and this should follow this. Instead, I think it's a real estate game by and large. When your theater's open and you're ready to go, you go. Yeah. And that makes it difficult because you can't plan for it. And sometimes those things are helpful. Sometimes the rising tides are able to say, okay, comedy is big right now, or this other genre is big right now. But I do agree with you that in the world of & Juliet plus Bad Cinderella plus Once Upon a One More Time, they were cannibalizing each other a little bit.
Mm-hmm. And I think one sort of may have rubbed off on the other at the same time. One of the first trips I ever made to New York, there was Good Vibrations and All Shook Up playing at the same time. And every time I went and saw All Shook Up and loved it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, everybody got to go see All Shook Up. And they were like, I don't like the Beach Boys. And I said, no, that's Good Vibrations. And so Good Vibrations, kind of screwed up the reputation of All Shook Up because no one knew the difference. And I think that's sort of what happened with Once Upon a One More Time as well.
But a really good lesson also for advertising and marketing, and which is what I do all day. And Alan, you're doing things that are very adjacent to that. It's like, clarity for the consumer is so important. We try to get a little fancy sometimes. I think being direct is the way to go. This is the Beach Boys musical. I love that. I worked on Beautiful, the Carole King musical, for many years. And it was always very clearly the Carole King musical. Like you had no doubt who that show was about.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's in the name.
It's in the name. It's in the name, front and center. Same with Neil Diamond, A Beautiful Noise. It's not even just in the name. It's the headline above the title of the show. Neil Diamond is the bigger brand, so they led with it. And I think that was amazing. And the show's doing really well, and I think that's a big reason why.
Yeah, I that's actually one that I am surprised is still running. And not in a bad way, because there's so much competition. Like, it's a real estate game, right? There's always things opening. A Beautiful Noise, it just continues to go, and I love it. I love that we have another something that's opened recently that is still showing success, because it's really hard to find that.
Absolutely. I'm very, very sad that some favorites from this year, some opened at the tail end of last year, some opened this year, but this year's Tony contenders, Shucked, Some Like It Hot, that they're closing in the coming weeks. But very happy to see Kimberly Akimbo, which won the Tony Award for Best Musical. We saw it together last year, is still running on Broadway.
I love that show too. I love that. I need to go back and see that in 2024. Can we go back again?
Yeah, let's go back again anytime.
Okay.
What shows do you want to revisit in 2024? Currently playing on Broadway that you want to go back to another time? What's your Chicago?
I would like to go see Spamalot with Alex Brightman.
Spamalot is so good.
I know.
I've seen it 3 times already. It's been in performances for 2 months. I've seen it 3 times.
So you probably saw more shows than me, but you saw a smaller number of individual shows. I want to go back and see Brightman, because Brightman just can do no wrong.
Yeah.
That guy will make comedy out of a script and a piece of rock. Let's see. Let's see. Gutenberg's a limited run, so that's not going to be around. Let's see. I'm going to win my list. I wish The Cottage had continued. That was a limited run.
That was super fun.
That was so funny. Absolutely funny. Life of Pi, actually, honorable mention here. That show transported me. And I don't know maybe that was another branding thing, a marketing thing. I don't know, but that show specifically, I think about as one of the most visually perfect shows I've seen all year.
It hurt to not see that one run longer.
Yeah.
I want to go back to & Juliet. Speaking of & Juliet, I want to go back there. I saw it like right when it began performances in 2022, and I haven't been back since. And I just want a fun night at the theater, so I may go back there next year.
That is always a fun night. That's a really good way to put it. It's I've heard multiple of my friends tell their friends about & Juliet as, if you don't like musical theater, go see that show. It's a show for people who don't like musical theater and a show for those who really love musical theater, because it hits both crowds.
That's fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you don't like musical theater, it's songs that you know, that you love, that have been pop #1 hits for the last 30 years. Yeah. So you just can't go wrong, because you already go in knowing all the songs, whether you know it or not.
Yeah. What's fun about that show is like it takes you back not just to the song, but where you were in life when you were listening to that song.
Yes.
For me, it's like very much like 13 years old, NSYNC nail decals, like huge fan, thought I was going to marry JC Chazé. None of those things ended up happening for me, but I really like, it takes me back to being a kid in a great way.
Did you see Little Shop at all?
I did see Little Shop, but I always want to go back because the casting is so good.
That's why I brought it up, because to answer your question, I want to go back to Little Shop because the show itself is staged really well. It's directed very well. The set's great. And but I want to go back and see who they keep putting through there. I saw it with Constance Wu and Corbin Bleu.
Oh, how were they? Oh, I wish I would have seen them.
It was great. It was so good.
That was such fun casting. They're doing an amazing job. Whoever is handling casting for Little Shop, big kudos to you. Yeah. I'll use another brilliant on you. I'll throw another one in the bucket for you.
Yeah, casting can be brilliant. Yeah. I like that as well. Is there anybody that you are excited to see on Broadway that you haven't seen yet? Like Rachel McAdams, right, is coming
Rachel
this
McAdams'
spring.
Broadway debut in Mary Jane, a great Amy Herzog play. I am very excited to see that this spring. And I'm excited for her to be on Broadway. It feels like impossible that this is her Broadway debut, but it is.
Well, it's so hard for TV film actors of that ilk, of that demand, who are in demand like that, to commit weeks and months to something. The fact that even Hugh Jackman was in Music Man for a year blew my mind. Like, how the hell did he take time out of filming whatever he wasn't filming for that?
Yeah, when you're Hugh Jackman, the world is yours. You can take time. You're Hugh Jackman.
That's true.
You make the schedule. You're Hugh.
X-Men waits for me.
Right. I'm really excited to see one of my favorite Broadway stars, who I've seen many, many times, but will go see her sing in a cardboard box if it was an option, which is Shoshana Bean.
Yes.
And she's coming back to Broadway in Hell's Kitchen, the Alicia Keys musical. So I'm very excited for her and for the musical. I'm going to go see it at the Public at the top of January. I most certainly will be back to see it again on Broadway. I'm also really excited to see Eddie Redmayne in one of my favorite musicals, Cabaret, this spring. I've never seen him on stage. And
I've never seen Cabaret.
What?
Yeah.
Do you know it?
I think I do, because it's been done in so many different ways and different pieces here and there. And I probably don't know it like I think I know it. It's
so great. It's great. The music is great. That's one of the shows that you'll sit at and you'll recognize so much of the score while you're there.
Well, just sitting in audition rooms for years, you hear the score of so many of these things all the time. Yeah. One of my favorite plays, I think, was Grey House.
Oh, that's too dark for me, Alan.
Because to do horror live, it worked. It executed well.
I loved that ad campaign. I know I always look at things through the lens of advertising and marketing, but I think that ad campaign, it was done by Spotco. They did a brilliant job with it. I think it actually won some awards. It was great. My favorite play of the year was Jaja's African Hair Braiding.
Oh, I didn't get to see that.
Yo, that was the miss of the year. That is the miss of the year. That play, I have never laughed and cried so hard in such a short period of time. It takes you somewhere, and humor is such a great thing. Humor, just to go back to what we were saying about Alex Edelman, it just opens up the door to someone's soul, and you really get to see them, and you really get to understand, and you really get to sort of put your shoulders down and open up yourself. And then the show goes somewhere at the end that destroys you emotionally after connecting with these people on such a humorous and human level, and you are left devastated. I also saw Jaja's 3 times, and I laughed and sobbed every time, even though I knew what was coming.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Serious but comedy, a dark comedy, Sign and City, Bruce Steen's Window. I saw that off Broadway in February.
That was a quick transfer to Broadway.
Yeah, and they didn't know when they closed. I was talking with them when they closed off Broadway. They didn't know Broadway was happening yet.
Wow.
So they closed. Then got the call like, "Hey, do you want to come back and go to Broadway?" They were like, "Okay."
A miraculous transfer to Broadway, right?
Yeah.
Like very, very, very last minute.
Literally opened the last day of Tony eligibility.
Yeah.
And then Miriam Silverman wins her Tony.
Just made it right in.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely amazing.
I'm looking at my list of everything I saw this year, and I want to talk to you about every single show, but there's not enough time for that. But I don't want to forget to talk to you about Here Lies Love.
Yes.
Which I think did such great, special, interesting, pioneering things on Broadway. They transformed that theater.
Yeah, yeah. Where did you sit when you went?
I sat right in the front mezzanine, so like 3 rows in. I decided not to stand, and it was great. It was great. I stood when I saw it at the Public 10 years ago and got that full immersive experience. And this time I wanted to watch it all, and it was like perfect view of everything happening.
I was if there was a proscenium, imagine where the proscenium was before they transformed the theater. I was just on the upstage side of that.
Got it.
Seated on a wing. So I was looking down on the dance floor from
cool.
house left.
Yeah.
And it was cool because there was like all the actors, the cast they were all like literally feet away right below us, dancing and doing their thing. And I'm glad I didn't do dance floor. I'm not a standing kind of person.
Yeah. To go back to our age, we're not 18 anymore.
That's true.
We're also still young, but I go to the theater after a long day of work and just want to sit down. You know what I'd really like, one of my hopes for 2024 in the theater is that they would serve iced tea. That's what I really want when I sit down at the theater. Like a refreshing iced tea with like a fresh lemon. Am I the only person that wants that?
I come from the South.
Unsweetened.
I come from the South. I need sweet tea.
No. I'm a Jersey girl. We're tough. We're unsweetened iced tea people here.
So you just want dirty water with lemon?
Yep, that's what I want. Dirty water with lemon. Who are you, Ted Lasso?
That's right. Believe. You got to believe.
That was a horrible Ted Lasso accent.
Well, no, that was my Jason. No, I was about to say Jason Statham.
That was a bad Jason Sudeikis accent, and that was a bad Ted Lasso accent.
Totally wrong, Jason.
But it's all right.
Hang on, everybody. We're just going to take a quick break. All right, now we're back.
Alan, what are you looking forward to next year? What shows are you? We've touched on this a little bit, but what shows are you really excited to see next year?
I'm very excited to see. Hoping the Wiz will just break the curse of the Marquee Theater and run forever. Again, going in without expectations, except now I have some. The Notebook really entices me. I've listened to a couple singles, which I normally don't do before I see something I haven't seen before. So because I wanted to get a feel for the music, and The Notebook looks like it's just good, just a ball of tears and emotion and happy.
I'm enticed by The Notebook. You've seen the movie, right?
Years ago, on a date. Yes.
Yeah, it's so good. The movie's great. I've heard that they've done a really smart job of making it still feel really intimate.
Yeah.
That they haven't made it feel like a blockbuster version of this hit movie, and that it still feels small and intimate and that kind of Broadway that you can only replicate on stage. And so I'm excited for it. Alan, do you want to go see it together?
Yes, please.
Let's add that to our list of things we're going to go see. I'll probably cry, but so will you.
I cry at Folgers commercials.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Of course. I cried. I went to go see Wonka in movie theaters yesterday. I cried.
Really?
Which was great, by the way. I know we're talking, but it is a bit of a musical, so I feel like we can talk about it for a second. It was great. I also saw a screening of The Color Purple. Go
Really?
see
The
The
movie?
Color
Yeah?
Purple. Yeah, go see The
Okay.
Color Purple for sure.
Oh, man.
Support movie musicals in the theaters, because that means more movie musicals get made, and it means more people are exposed to the form.
There was an article, there's something going around the Broadway Reddit forums, the Broadway subreddits that are saying, they're posting on these articles saying that everyone who likes musical theater is upset that the Mean Girls movie hasn't been marketed as a musical. And now studios are responding to that saying, well, if we say it's a musical, people don't come. So you have to trick the audience to get there. Like Wonka is a musical and nobody talks about that in the advertising.
Yeah, I don't mind tricking people in advertising. I feel like whatever it takes to get them in, as long as you know that they're going to walk out satisfied, they're not going to walk out feeling duped, then I'm all for truth in advertising being skewed as needed.
Huh. Okay. I'll give you
We'll
that.
do a whole podcast on that.
I actually would. I would like to have a whole tricking people in advertising is cool episode.
I think that tricking, yeah, I should use my words better. Once again, this has not been sanctioned by a lawyer, anything I'm saying today. So I do need to consult my legal team on anything. I need to get a legal team and then I need to consult them and come back to you on what I should or shouldn't say. But I think it's important to use the thing that's going to draw the person in, as long as you know that they're going to be satisfied when they get there. That's maybe what I should be saying. Tricking is the wrong word.
There you go. Yeah, it's not tricking.
It's like this pasta I make with anchovies in it. It's so good. It's Alison Roman's caramelized shallot pasta, and there's anchovies in it. And if you tell someone there's anchovies in it, they're going to be like, oh, anchovies. But if you try it, you will love it.
You need to write a musical called Salad with Anchovies. I'd go see that.
Salad with anchovies.
Or pasta with anchovies.
Yeah, pasta with anchovies. You can't do salad and anchovies. That's two no's.
Sorry, we actually do make salad with anchovies in this house.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, so I wouldn't have to trick you.
No. I actually like anchovies, and I like Spam and Vegemite.
Oh, wow. I've never tried Vegemite. Obviously, there's a lot of Spam in my life, post Spam-a-lot, or during Spam-a-lot. So I have plenty of Spam that I can send over to you. I am really, 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 really extra excited for The Outsiders. It's a musical that has been in development for quite some time. Speaking of things that we went out of town to see, I went to go see it at La Jolla Playhouse in March. Alan, it's so good.
Really?
It's so good.
I can't wait for it. I'm just looking at this list. There's so much. Like, this is a fierce season. It is the Tony season that's going to come up. Like The Notebook, Water for Elephants. I've heard such good things. Just to play it. My Son's a Queer, but what can you do? I've heard such amazing things about My Son's a Queer. The Who's Tommy is coming.
Oh, the
back.
Who's Tommy. Wait till you all meet Ollie, who's playing Tommy. He is making his Broadway debut. He's currently in the company tour right now, and has never been on Broadway before, but he played the role in Chicago at the Goodman Theater. I went to go see it, and he is phenomenal. The reviews are out of this world for him. I think he is going to be a big Broadway star in just a couple of months. Yeah,
so you mentioned Lempicka. I'm excited for that, again, because I just love seeing Eden. I love anything Rachel Chapkin directs is incredible. And Sammy Canold was actually associate director with Lempicka earlier.
Oh, that's a cool fun fact.
Yeah, she was involved with Lempicka. Suff's coming back.
Suffs is I'm so excited for Suffs. Did you see it at the Public last year?
No, I need to get more off Broadway. I need to do more.
Yeah, you need to. That's the goal. Me too. It's a goal for me for 2024 as well. I loved Suffs at the Public, which by the time it premieres on Broadway, it'll be about 2 years since it played at the Public. Yeah. I'm sure they've done a ton with it since then, but it's great. It's everything I wanted in a musical. It's women at the center of it. Hillary Clinton and Malala have come on board as producers of it. I can't wait to see it.
I'm putting this out there. I'm going to manifest this. I want to interview Alicia Keys for Hell's Kitchen.
Great. I'll manifest it.
I want that. I want her as a podcast guest.
I'm manifesting it. Alicia, text me later. I'll connect you with Alan.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
Heart of Rock and Roll. That just came out of nowhere.
And there's probably more to come. There's probably more to come that hasn't been announced that's going to be on Broadway this spring.
Yeah. And, so Heart of Rock and Roll, directed by Gordon Greenberg, who also directed Dracula, Comedy of Terrors, which is also a personal favorite of mine from 2023.
Dracula is a fan favorite. Yes. And Dracula is also an internet favorite. The internet loves Dracula. Gatsby, directed by Rachel Chapkin, is premiering this spring at ART. I will definitely be going to Boston to see that.
Oh, please. Can I go with you? I want to go.
Hop in the car.
Car, train, whatever. I'll plane. I'll swim. I'll swim there. No, I won't. That's a lie.
But I'll take the car. I'll take a plane. I'll take a train. Train is my favorite. I love the train.
I really do. What is it about trains that's still just so like
oldie timey?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it. And the train gives me focus. There's something about like the gentle rocking. It's probably like a thing from childhood.
Maybe because the train just, for the most part, it's just on time. It just works. So you know when you're going to leave and you know when you're going to get there.
It's true.
Whereas,
all right, we'll take the train to Boston.
Okay.
And fresh jammies.
Let's see. Cabaret we mentioned. Mary Jane we mentioned. Uncle Vanya with
Uncle
Anika.
Vanya, that cast.
Steve Carell and Allison Phil, Anika Noni Rose. God, like Steve Carell on Broadway too. That's another one. Like what?
That's another one. Can we go see that one together too?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
We'll balance the two, a play and a musical.
Okay, let's see. Mother Play, Celia Keenan-Bolger, Jessica Lange, and Jim Parsons is coming back too, written by Paula Vogel. I love Paula Vogel.
Yeah. Also, right now, playing at Second Stage, which will be on Broadway until maybe February, is Appropriate with Sarah Paulson. That's my first show of 2024. I'm seeing it the first week of January. Can't wait.
Ooh, yeah. I need to actually get some tickets to that. I haven't seen that yet. I guess the last thing, let's see. Smash. They're finally bringing the TV show to Broadway.
I am ready for the short-lived, highly acclaimed NBC series Smash to come to Broadway.
Do you know anything about it? I mean, like, are they adapting it? They're changing the story? Are they?
I think quite a bit has changed from what I understand. Like, there's a foundation of some of the characters that we know, but it's not the same plot line of Hit List versus Bombshell.
I wonder if any of the TV cast is going to be in it.
That would be fun. I heard some of the casting from the reading, and it's A+. Any cast list that says Bonnie Milligan on it, sign me up.
Did you just leak a news?
No, I think it's out there in the world.
Is it?
I don't think I leaked a news.
All right. Well, I'm going to say you heard it here first.
No, you didn't hear it here first. I'm pretty sure Bonnie posted about it on her Instagram.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, I think we're good. And if not, my lawyers will be in touch about editing this part out.
Well, first you're going to get the lawyers, and then they'll be in touch. Yeah.
Are you a lawyer? Is anybody listening a lawyer?
Listen,
if so,
I have watched 7.5 seasons of Suits, so I consider myself a lawyer.
A lawyer. Yeah, for me, it was The Good Wife. And so I really know. I know what's going on.
All I know is that you can get an injunction and something called a TRO in like hours. And that's easy, especially in New York City, that's filmed in Toronto. But
getting an injunction I learned from Rent.
Oh, that's true.
Get an injunction, call the cops.
That's right.
Yeah.
Let's see. Rose and Thorn. We'll wrap it up. What was like the best moment you can think of? Well, let's start with the Thorn. We'll go negative first, and on a positive. So what was like the Thorn? What would you have liked to have seen happen a little bit differently?
On Broadway or in my life? Those are two different answers.
Well, I guess on Broadway in the industry of things that would have gone better. Like, okay, I'll give you mine. I would have liked to have seen Once Upon a One More Time not open right after Bad Cindy closed. I think that was a low light of the season, having those two so close together.
Yeah. This is a tough one because I have so many hopes for our industry. I love Broadway so fiercely, and because I do, I feel it is my responsibility to want it to be better. And the thing on my mind right now continues to be diversity of who we see on stage and what stories are being told. And I mean that in so many different ways. Of course, I mean racial diversity, but I also mean neurodivergent people being on stage like they are in How to Dance in Ohio, or plus size or fat people like Bonnie Milligan being on Broadway in a role that has nothing to do with her weight and is not even mentioned. I want to see Ruthie Ann Miles be able to star in Light in the Piazza, not just Here Lies Love.
Right.
And my hope for Broadway in 2024 and beyond, and my thorn for this year, is while there has been progress, there's a long way to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And it never ends either.
Yeah. What about you, Alan?
Well, okay. So the timing I mentioned, but I guess another one, I think that we have a long way to go politically to get the city, and like behind the scenes there, the industry's holding on by a thread. Like it's too hard to get a show on Broadway. In terms of accessibility, tickets are too high because rent is too high for the shows to have the theaters. And I think at what point can we just take a step back and say, all right, city government, we are responsible, we Broadway are responsible for how many billions of dollars of tourism. And if you could subsidize rent or even just tickets for however you want to qualify it, then you can get more people in from more places and maybe like do some sort of partnership with hotels. So you come see a Broadway show and you get a discount on your hotel stay. Just do some sort of incentive to get people here. So I would love to see tourism return even more, because post-COVID, it's still not what it was pre-COVID. And I think the city could do something about it, and they're not.
Agree. The arts are vital to the world, but especially to New York and our economy. Broadway brings in more money every year than every single New York sports team combined. That's the Yankees and the Mets and the Giants and the Jets. Some of those are in New Jersey, but you know what I mean? Like, it's bringing in more money. It's fueling the economy on a larger level than all of those teams combined.
Yeah.
And I would love to see more support in our government financially for the arts on stages like ours, on high school stages, elementary school kids, all of it.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Okay, so then do you have like a rose? Do you have your a standout moment or moments? You don't have to pick just one.
It's so hard because there's a lot of roses. As much as there's many thorns, that means that it also comes with a lot of roses. I think there's a few for me. One is Wicked turning 20 this year and getting to be a part of that. I get to work on Wicked, and it's pretty magical for me. I was 16 when I saw Wicked. I saw it with my mom and my sister 2 months after it opened on Broadway. It was one of those life-changing, without hyperbole, experiences for me. I interned at Serino Coyne, which is the ad agency I work at now, when I was in college and kind of lost and had no idea what I wanted to do with my life and didn't know that this industry existed. And on that very first day, our founder, Nancy Coyne, told me a story about a young Muslim girl who had gone to see Wicked a couple years after 9/11 when it opened, and how she wrote a letter to the producers that for the last 2 years, she has felt like a stranger in this land, in her home, and people calling her family terrorists, and she wore a hijab and being awful to them because they were Muslim post 9/11. And they went to go see Wicked, and she felt like the green girl. And I think she saw some hope for herself. And that story is quite literally why I want to work on Broadway, because I always wanted to do something that felt like it had an impact on the world. And the thing that had the greatest impact on my life was theater. And Wicked was a big part of that. So now, flash forward 20 years later, I work on Wicked. I'm here celebrating its 20th anniversary. That was a big moment of joy that I felt this year. But I also had a lot of joy in the shows that I worked on this year and watching them thrive. Some Like It Hot and Shucked and Kimberly Akimbo winning the Tony Award, Spam-A-Lot just opening on Broadway and the joy that brings audiences every night, and Jaws and the Cottage. I worked on a lot of things that brought a lot of joy to audiences. So those are a whole bouquet of roses for the year.
Yeah. That's a really good way of looking at it. We're bringing joy back when people need to laugh. People need to connect with each other and connect with strangers and realize that we're all still human. Because I think like the more we go on, the more we just hide behind isolation.
Yeah.
And technology makes life easy and worse all at the same time in that regard.
Totally.
So yeah, you get in front of, again, a room full of strangers to go on an emotional journey led by the best of their craft. You can't beat that.
No. What's your rose?
My rose. Oh, goodness. Mine, I would have to say, I think I always like working the red carpet of the Tony Awards. That's always a standout moment, just to see the celebration of all that talent and like you get TV and film, and again, the people that may not have the time, or you know what, I will say it, I think theater actors can bring some sort of level of realism that sometimes TV and film cannot bring, because to be able to go back into a dark place, or even a happy place, but especially like to be able to regulate yourself and be trained physically and emotionally to go back into such an emotional place that's required 8 times a week.
Yeah,
I think that's just talent. That's talent I will never understand. I've always wanted to understand, and I don't think I ever will. So
it's the magic of it all.
It is magic. So yeah, the Tony Awards, definitely a rose of mine. At Google, there's a Broadway community that I joined that we do outings at least once a month. So it's like I've made a whole bunch of new friends in that regard too. So, buying tickets and going out and seeing them go out to dinner beforehand. And it reminds me of in college, where even in high school too, but kind of this little group of misfits that didn't fit in anywhere else. You fit in together and you go see shows and you go see the arts.
I'm so glad you said that, because one of the things I was going to say for Rose, and there's just so many things, is it's the people who I went to theater with. As I look at this list, the shows, I saw a whole handful of shows with you this year. My friend Eileen, I've seen a lot of shows with. My colleagues, I've seen a lot of shows with. And that's half the joy, is who you're sitting next to in the theater.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Just the reactions of people who don't normally get to see shows.
Yeah. Yeah, your kids, my nephews. It's really special.
Yeah. Well, thank you again. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Happy
New
holidays.
Year. Happy
Hanukkah.
holidays.
Happy everything.
Happy everything. And happy, healthy, joyful 2024 for you and everyone listening.
You too. Where can we connect with you? Remind
You
everybody.
can connect with me on Instagram. I'm @_ Diana Salameh, because surprisingly enough, it was taken without an underscore.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah, I'm theater_podcast because
There we go.
somebody else. I actually haven't even checked. I don't even know if the original one still exists anymore.
Well, you're the best. You're the best of the best.
Yeah, that's right. Don't forget it.
Thanks for having me, Alan.
Of course. I guess.
I'll see you this time next year.
Well, we're going to go see lots of shows.
Well, lots of shows.
I'll see
Yes.
you. We'll be recording again this time next year.
Exactly.
Okay.
Take a deep breath, make the world a little colorful.